Hello and welcome back to KXAM Plus. I'm your anchor, Esmeralda Zamora, and we have another Kristen's Classroom episode with meteorologist Kristen Curry. Kristen, thanks for joining me. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just kind of fighting the summertime heat.
Yes, super hot outside here in Central Texas, but we love it. We love to be out in the pool and the lake, and there hasn't been much rain out there either to bother us.
Yeah, that's the thing is at least we're not worried about severe weather. You know, that we do get some good pool time. And we signed up for this. We knew summertime in Central Texas would be hot, and it's certainly delivering.
And you know, the perfect thing to do during this summertime heat here in Texas alone is go on an adventure like you did a couple weeks ago in Houston.
Yes, absolutely. And an inside adventure where there's AC in case you're over the heat. But yeah, you're exactly right, Esme. It's the fact that I was in Houston for work for a whole week, and I thought this is the perfect opportunity to kind of explore what Space City has to offer. And one of the stops that I was able to take advantage of is the Houston Museum of Natural Science.
And you must have learned so much. All of the photos that you shared with us, I can pull them up right now.
Yeah.
It looks like you were pretty busy.
I was pretty busy, and I'll tell you, being a scientist at heart, this is my love language. I was blown away by all there was to offer within the Natural Science Museum. I will tell you, if you are unfamiliar with Houston, there's a whole district, a whole museum district in Houston, and this is one of several right in the same vicinity. So it's really nice. You can kind of park your car and go explore. But there are so many different exhibits. I want to say there were 4 floors of exhibits within this Natural Science Museum. Have you ever been to one of these before, Esme?
You know, I've been to the Houston Butterfly Center.
Okay.
And I believe it's right next to it, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is kind of almost a part of it. So that I love that you have that experience. And the whole reason I'm talking about this too, and as we talked about before, is Houston's 2.5 hours away. It can be a road trip. It can be a day trip. For those here in Central Texas, I wanted to give you parents, kids, options of different things that you could do during the summertime, or really any time of year, but during the summertime when it's really hot, to go and explore. So you see the pictures there of all the different things that I was able to explore while I was at the Houston Museum of Natural Science. And I wanted to kind of highlight a couple of the exhibits that stood out to me. I really think you'd probably need more than a day to visit, but one of the ones, and you saw it there with some of the bright colors of the different chemicals in the beakers, was the Matter in Motion exhibit. And I'll read you what the Houston Museum explores this. It's the groundwork for the basic chemistry and physics principles required to understand today's leading edge science. That's what this exhibit is aimed to do. That's the goal. It highlights the new hall, including the Houston Connection, which is an interactive timeline and a walk inside the human brain. I showed you that photo there where it's a plastic, brain, but you walk inside and you can see up, there's like a lighted electric kind of wall there to mimic what the inside of our brains look like. There's also a giant periodic table of elements there too. So I thought the Matter in Motion exhibit was really good. One of the things you're seeing here, the wildlife, there's these dioramas.
The buffalo.
Yes, there's the periodic wall. These dioramas that they have.
There's the brain.
There's the brain. There's the beakers. And there's all sorts of cool things. But one of the things that I think what the kids would really love is these dioramas are the of Texas wildlife. And they're pretty old. They were actually, some of them painted back in the 1940s. But the dioramas have been there for decades. And it just kind of shows different wildlife and what it would look like if you were to see them out in the wild. There's also a whole spot on Texas wildlife, which I wrote it down because this part, this is the dioramas. Or actually, that's the Texas wildlife, because I did not know that bison lived in Texas at one point.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That either.
Yeah. The different parts of Texas that they highlight as far as wildlife and vegetation go, the piney woods, the Oakmont, coastal prairie, wetland South Texas dry forests, the Guadalupe Mountains, and the high plains. So you can actually walk around this part of the museum, and it shows you what wildlife you would see if you were in that part of Texas. And I just thought that was so cool because is first of all very local, but there were things like, the bison that I didn't even know at one point called Texas home. There was like the raccoons and the possums and all the different deer species, the birds. Yeah. They also said over 425 specimens representing around 250 species illustrate the native wildlife before human colonization. So hence the buffaloes before we got here. But it focuses on more than 50 rare and endangered and extinct species, including those that have been recovered from near extinction. So one of my favorite parts was seeing that wildlife.
It's one thing for these children to read them in their textbooks at school, but it's another to take your kid out and see them as they offer them here at the museum. Not real life, but they're in front of you.
Yeah, and because they paint them in the environment that you would find them in, right? It's not just buffalo there. They put all the vegetation down at the ground. There's one part with the dioramas where you see a lion going after a zebra, and it looks so real, right? Because they're 3D, and you look at it thinking that's what it would look like in real life. This like safari journey. Something else that you see here in some of these photos. The shell collection.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
on the wall.
I think it's pronounced malacology, the study of shells. But it's a whole exhibit of different shells. And I wanted to read because it blew me away. I wrote it down somewhere. 1,300 shell and marine specimens with a focus on ocean conservation. Wow. I mean, I probably spent 25 minutes in that part of the museum alone. Yeah, because it's just, you see so many of like the typical, the little clam shell with a little bit of iridescence on the inside. But the fact that there's over 1,000 shells in this museum alone, from all over the United States, it's mind-boggling to think about how much unknown there is in the ocean, to think there's just that many shell species that we know of, and we haven't even reached the bottom in some parts of the ocean. So I just thought that was really cool. That shell exhibit was not only stunning, but it was really interesting to see all the different types, shapes, colors of these different shells.
And Kristen, are those shells only found in the ocean, or can you find those shells anywhere else on this earth?
I think it was coastal areas for the most part. I'm not 100% sure, though. I think most of it was coastal and in the water.
I think when you find something like that, like on dirt or on wildlife, it's considered a fossil, right?
If it's like preserved, for a while. And speaking of the fossils that you see there, right here.
Yeah.
The whole downstairs is the prehistoric safari. So whenever I see this, obviously you think of like not at the museum, Ben Stiller, where everything comes to life. But it's huge. I mean, the dinosaur prehistoric exhibit that they've got at the Natural Science Museum in Houston is just gigantic. And some of the things here, ancient creatures brought to life in action-packed scenes of survival. Embark on the safari, and it's got a whole bunch from the ancestors of mammoths to the dinosaurs to humans. I mean, you can explore everything down there. And it's all lit up in a very pretty and unique way, too. But the life scenes, they have the fossils of these dinosaurs kind of placed in a way where you could kind of see what it would look like if they were still around, right? But right behind the fossils, right behind the bones, you see a painted image of the dinosaur and whatever it's doing. So I remember like one of them was the T-Rex eating something. And so you saw like the T-Rex bones and whatever was in front of it, and then a painting of the image behind it. I mean, it just was like, that's what brought it to life.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Captures the actual image of that fossil.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the whole point, right? Is you go to these natural science museums and you want to think, what was it like? What has the science and the history of the science shown us about where we came from, what it was like 100 millions of years ago, and I had the time of my life in there. There were so much to get to that I didn't have the opportunity to explore. There's an observatory, there's a planetarium.
What is this screen? There's like a screen wrapped around.
Yeah, so that was in one of the areas. There's like this a screen theater, and so when I walked in there, it was a biker like a mountain biker and talking about momentum and how, you know, if you continue riding the bike over a canyon, the momentum would take you there. Somewhat. Eventually momentum runs out with, you know, the force of friction working against you. But there was a screen theater, and then there was a whole other theater on the side that I didn't get to explore. Like I said, I would suggest if you are going to do the museum to do at least a day, if not two. There's the shells. We talked about the bison. I want to rotate again. Oh, the screen that you're talking about. There's the mountain biker thing. And
I'm glad those don't really come to life.
I know, right? The prehistoric safari. This was cool. That screen there, you could pick 2 different chemicals and it would like virtually mix it together and show you what the combination would be. So I picked just easy one, the hydrogen and the oxygen to make water, and it showed you.
It made water?
Yeah, it shows you what the water would be as gas form, liquid form. And I thought that was really neat. There was a whole Audubon section. This was part of the prehistoric safari down there with the fossils on the wall of the fish. This is what I'm talking about, where you see there's something in front of the big plate. Megalodon. It was a megalodon eating something. And then in the back was an actual picture, like a painted picture of a megalodon eating a fish or a seal or whatever it was. And then this part was really cool too. So that periodic table, 2 things. One, there's a periodic table on the wall. And with all the different elements in that square of the element, it shows like what it is or what something, a common item is made out of, right? And I thought that was really cool. Like copper, it had a little piece of copper. Yeah. It was interesting. And then they had a dance floor periodic table for the kids where it kind of showed you what element to step on and it would like dance, and it would light up. It was really cool. And then I don't think I have a picture, but I wanted to make mention of it. This like pendulum thing. It's one of the first things you see when you walk in. And throughout the day, the pendulum, it swings, right? But it looks like it's changing, and it's actually just, it's showing you the curvature of the earth, which I thought was really neat. So they describe it as earth is turning under the pendulum as it swings. Houston's latitude is 30 degrees north. So with it, the process through 180 degrees or halfway around each day during the time, it kind of moves in it, and it knocks down these little pins to make it obvious to us, like visually, that the earth is actually spinning underneath us. Yeah, it's really neat. And there was a whole crowd of people around this pendulum. It came right out of the ceiling, and it was just swinging back and forth. And as it swung, every once in a while, it would tip over one of these little pins on the edge. But it looked like it was kind of moving and tipping over different pins as it worked around in that half circle, but it wasn't moving. It was the earth that was actually moving.
Wow, that's interesting. And for everyone to gather around there, they must want to know what it means.
This picture right here is of, there's the periodic table of dancing. The picture before that, where you see my hand, there's a whole exhibit on how pulleys work. And so it has you try and lift up a piano with a pulley, and all these different things. I could go on and on, Esme. It's so cool to see. And what I thought was very telling was I had posted on my Facebook page that I had done this. I had gone to the Houston Museum of Natural Science. So many viewers underneath my Facebook post were like, we've been there, we love it, we want to go back, it's a must-see. So I was like, okay, I'm not alone. Like, people say this is a really cool thing you have to add to your list.
And what is this little table that we just saw? It was like a galaxy inside of a table with
It was just one of the space exploration exhibits that they had. And that was kind of off to the side of the matter in motion. And even the spectrum microscope was part of that as well. Before I forget, because I have a whole thing of notes here. I also wanted to caveat this Houston Museum of Natural Science. Awesome. Go. It's so worth it. We do have here in Austin.
I was about to say, I wish we had this
here
in Austin.
No, I'm so glad you said something, because I wanted to make sure. I wrote a little note. I was like, don't forget. The Texas Science and Natural History Museum is actually on UT campus.
Oh, okay.
On the University of Texas campus. So I have actually not been there, and I was thinking, well, there's
time to go.
Time to go. Next field trip, we're gonna go over there to the Texas Science and Natural History Museum. I want to say it's probably part of like the Bullock Museum there, like in that vicinity. So there is one right here in Austin. If you're thinking, I don't know, Houston might be a little too far today. There is one in Austin, but the Houston Museum of Natural Science, tickets run about $25 for adults, $16 for kids. And then there's a parking structure right next door if you want to make it easy, but there is a price for that. And they're open usually around 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Busy times would obviously be the weekends and summer.
The hottest times of the day.
Absolutely. And I went right after I went to the zoo. So I was hot and sweaty, and it was really nice to be inside. My only regret is I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time to explore. I thought the prehistoric safari was definitely a highlight, but you could literally lose yourself in reading all there is to know about the shells, about the different wildlife here in Texas, the different dioramas. And I was also reading too that the dioramas, they were undergoing some construction in the museum, and they had to like really preserve that. They said this is a super important part of the museum that people look forward to. So they did everything they could to preserve these dioramas. So even with renovation, they're still there for everybody to enjoy.
That is awesome. Not only did you learn about matter in motion, the Farish Hall of Texas Wildlife that you were talking about, there's also more of the malacology?
I think, to be honest, I hadn't not even thought about that kind of study, but the malacology was the shells. There was something else, the minerals.
Minerals, yes.
Okay, the gems and the minerals. And this is another one of those things where I'm like, oh, I could spend hours in here. 450 mineral and gem like specimens, like exhibits that you could see within this one room.
And those are crystals, right?
The crystals, some of the most rare in the world there. And it's not even just like little pieces of like pretty rock. Like there are tiaras, there are rings, there are big necklaces made of these like very rare minerals and gems. I know, it's so pretty.
Where did they get those from?
And they have like a little excerpt on there from like, we got this from a certain country and it's here just on loan. But they light it in a way too. And I think I wrote it down.
Is the room dark, kind of like these photos? And the gems glow? Wow, that's amazing.
The display case is illuminated by fiber optic lighting to provide optimum viewing.
Wow.
It was they were so beautifully done too. I think, exactly. It was dark and the gems were lit up and you could truly see all the different cuts and angles and lights.
Sparkles.
The sparkles of it all too. I don't know if I have a picture of that there, but it was pretty to just appreciate the fact that we have that kind of thing in our life, whether or not you're a diamonds gal, just to be able to see like, wow, that exists, like
who
our
isn't a diamonds gal?
I know, that's so true. But I thought it was interesting to see both sides of it, of just like the rare kind of broken up rock and the mineral on the inside. Again, it's just pressure and heat and rock. But also in the form of like true, very big, like royalty status jewelry.
Wow. And you said there's 4 floors of this museum?
4 floors, yeah. The very top I didn't get to either. The very top was Egyptian.
Ooh, that would have been so cool.
I know, girl. I'm telling you, like it was one of those things. I was filling in for our sister station doing weather in the morning, and so that alarm clock went off at 2 a.m. And then I was on air, and eventually got done at about 10:30 in the morning. And I was trying to cram in and crunch all the different exploring things that I could do, and I left this one for last, which was also a regret. I should have prioritized this. Yeah, started
or split it up in 2 days.
I know. And that's the thing too. It's only 2.5 hours. I keep saying that because that's truly in our backyard, right? There are
we spend more time in traffic here in Austin than it takes to get to Houston.
That is so true. And this is one of, as I mentioned, several different museums in that area. It was interesting because there was a lot of summer camps in there, and I thought, how cool if you were a kid being able to have a summer camp at the Natural Science Museum.
That would be awesome.
So cool. And I think, for $25 for grown-ups for an all-day deal. Yeah. And inside where there's AC, I thought that was a really good option for parents if you're thinking, okay, we got to get these kids out of the house.
Yeah.
I got to get them learning. And
stimulating that brain.
One of the things I had read too on the website and had remembered seeing when I was there was this is one of the most visited museums in the country. It's got that reputation of being very, very good and well done. So a lot of what I'm showing you here are the permanent exhibits. There's some rotating, like just here for a limited time exhibits, like the Autobahn right there, the birds of the world. Those were painting, and I want to say that was a separate charge from the actual ticket price, but it was also worth it. So there's different things. It's always going to be different when you go. You know, whether you've been there,
exclusive things that you can see.
Whether you've been there 5 years ago, 10 years ago, last week, there's probably going to be something new there that you haven't seen before, which is one of the cool things I think about the museums in general. But if it's not the Houston Museum of Natural Science, you know, maybe test the waters with the Texas Science and Natural History Museum we've got over here. Yeah, on UT, and then make this a priority if you can. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions. This was kind of just a broad stroke of there are so many different points and spectacles and all the right ways of what they've got at the museum.
Yeah. At the start of summer, I did a story on students and something called the summer slide. When students go into summer and they start losing some of the knowledge that they were learning throughout school, this is a great opportunity to get your kid out there and stimulate that brain and keep them learning throughout summer.
Absolutely. And they, of course, have info panels on all the different things. I will say the matter in motion might be a little tough for the littles, just because, you know, physics is tough. Physics is tough for grown-ups, but physics is really tough when you're like 5. But being able to walk through the brain, I think, was really cool. The dance floor periodic table.
The lights are probably interesting.
The lights, yes. The screen theater, you know, of course, the prehistoric dinosaurs is always it's always, I think, a favorite. And they have not only like the big dinosaurs that you can like walk around, but also on the walls, the true fossils of like the footprints. And then, you know, as a kid, I think you're pretty much able to understand that of, hey, these little footprints that you see on this wall were actually dinosaurs, you know, millions of years ago.
And all these little kids love dinosaurs.
It's hard not to,
you know?
It's hard, even as a grown-up, it is hard not to marvel at the fact that, like you said earlier, very cool, but so glad they're not alive today. And obviously there's still an interest because they're coming out with a new Jurassic World movie.
Exactly. Everyone loves them.
This summer. So if we are still doing Jurassic Parks in this series, as far as Hollywood goes, something's got to be going right with the dinosaur curiosity.
Well, we do have your article here. I have it pulled up on our website, cakesan.com. And this one is for the Houston Museum of Natural Science. All that information that you talked about, all the different floors, I guess, are in there, as well as all these photos. This is the pulley, right, that you were talking about?
Yep, that's the pulley, the microscope and all the different things that I had just taken a quick picture of. I will say, if you search for Kristen's Classroom, this is one of several different episodes that Esme and I have done together, kind of highlighting different things for the kids. So definitely, check it out. Let me know if you've got questions. I had a great experience doing it, and I think if schedule allows, I'm going back. I'm going back to starting at the 4th floor and
starting up, going down,
and then working my way down.
That's awesome. I want to go back out there. I only went to the butterfly section, but I do want to go and see all those crystals. That sounds awesome.
The gems, the minerals, the shells, the dinosaurs. I mean, there are so many different things.
Take it part by part.
Take it part. Yeah. Have patience. Know that this is not just like a pop in 1 hour, kind of check it out, pop out. Not that kind of museum. You're gonna fall in love. You're gonna be late to whatever you expected to go to afterwards. So factor in some extra time to enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of this with us, Kristen. We've enjoyed your entire field trip series,